It's only inevitable that we work so hard on our lives, on our businesses, on our dreams, our goals, our aspirations, that we can begin to feel like it all relies on us. And maybe you felt that before. I know there's been many times where I felt that. I felt like, man, everything is riding on my ability to get this thing done. And the truth of it is while there are things that are relying on your discipline, your work ethic, you showing up, not everything relies on you. And that should give us a great sense of relief because, you know, we are believing things, we are going in certain directions, we are desiring certain things that maybe we never seen before. Let me just give you a short story real quick. And this story was before I got married. Now, before getting married, I don't want to say there was a certain desire. Yes, of course, maybe, one day be married, have kids and all that. But I wasn't really excited about the idea. I wasn't really excited about the idea. And that was for a lot of different reasons. One reason was I had never met somebody that I actually wanted to marry. That's first things first. And the second thing is, in my experience, I had seen tons of marriages fail. And as a matter of fact, looking around in my upbringing, I cannot look at one marriage that I seen growing up that was a success or a definition of something that I think would be good. It's just like, hey, why bother? Like, I'm just not even going to get married, right? And because of that, that kind of messed with me a little bit. And I remember one time having a conversation with my pastor, and this was when I had met a woman we were dating, which is now my wife. And, marriage was something that I was definitely I had kind of a different perspective on it. And I remember sharing some thoughts and some feelings with my pastor. And I had told him this because he was kind of like, what's the reservation? Like, what's the deal? And I said, imagine this, we know that the stat is 50% of marriages fail, right? And I think it's probably even higher than that. But I said, imagine this. If you knew that 50% of the airplanes that you got on would crash, would you get on one? And he was kind of like taken aback, like, wow, like when you put it like that, like, no, I wouldn't. And I think most people wouldn't either. So that was kind of my perspective, was like, man, according to the stats, 50% of these things fail. So why do I want to go run off and jump and get into one? Like, and if I do, like, shouldn't I do my due diligence, right? And so, of course, there was some things I had to work through and all of that. And, just from my own upbringing, because now I see that there are plenty of marriages that are great examples of how to live, and they, how to grow, and how two people can do amazing things together, and how God uses marriage in so many different ways. Before getting married, everybody thinks it's all about you. It's like, yeah, when I need a spouse who's going to do this X, Y, Z for me, and all this kind of stuff, right? And then you get married and you realize, like, no, it's actually not all about that. Sure, those things are involved, but it's not all about that. It's actually a development of growth that is made between two people who agree to do it together. And so I didn't mean to turn this into a marriage seminar, but that was kind of my idea of working through some of these things. Is I kind of felt like some of this stuff was all on me. In my business, it's kind of like, man, it's all on me to make certain things work. And you might find yourself in a situation where you feel like, man, it's all on me. Am I going to be able to do this thing that I've never seen done before? Am I going to be able to, build this business to I have no idea how it's going to happen. And once again, just to reiterate, like, some of that is, of course, your responsibility, but there's a large portion that's not. And that's actually what this video is about today. And this video, I wanted to encourage you to let you know that it doesn't all rely on you. And that should be a huge weight off of your shoulders. That there is a greater purpose for your life that God has for you, that He is going to work out. That's part of His orchestrating power, is to work that out, is to work out that purpose. As long as you follow Him, as long as you listen to Him, as long as your heart is pointed in the direction of Him, He will work out all the details, even in the midst of your mistakes. You cannot mess it up. This is one of the amazing things about grace is that you cannot mess up God's plans for you. If your heart is in the right place, if you are, and what I mean by that is you don't just feel good, but your heart is geared towards saying, Lord, I'm listening. Like my ears open to you. My ears open to counsel. My ears open to these things. Then I have no doubt 100% that he will work everything out. He'll work everything out. So I wanted to share this portion of scripture, which speaks to that and some more. It's found in Proverbs chapter 21, verse 30. It says this: no wisdom, no understanding, no counsel can avail against the Lord. Let me just read that one more time. Let it sink in. No wisdom, no understanding, no counsel can avail against the Lord. You know, we all have people that attempt to speak into our lives. And, you know, there's good people that are speaking good things, and then there's bad people that are speaking bad things. And then sometimes there's even people that have a good heart but speak bad things, and vice versa. My point with that is this, is that maybe there's people that have told you certain things about you or where you're going or God's purpose in your life that have only added to more of that pressure, that have only added to like sayings like, oh, that's never going to work. Why don't you get real? Why don't you get a real job? Why don't you do this thing? Why don't you go over here? No, it'd be much smarter to do this. Now, once again, I always like to make this caveat because it's not always that way. Like in the sense, there are times where you need to listen to counsel. There's times where you need to, don't just go every direction you think is the best and blame it on God telling you that's where he told you to go. Like you got to listen to counsel. But at the highest point exists the Lord and his purpose for your life. And there is no wisdom. There's no advanced knowledge. There's no architected plan. There's no amount of understanding that somebody else has. There's no amount of counsel that could supersede the purpose and the plan that God has for your life. And I really do, man. My biggest hope with delivering this message to you is that you would feel a sense of relief, that you would feel a sense of relief from whatever pressure that you've been carrying, whatever things or ideas or thoughts that you've been carrying in having to make it work. Whatever that thing is, could be your marriage, could be dealing with a family member, could be your business, could be all kind of things. The biggest point is this, is that nothing can avail against what God has said and what God is going to do. So just be reminded that as you go throughout your life, as you go throughout all the things that you're doing, that when the Lord has spoken to you, when the Lord has given you a direction, when you're following God, he will make sure that everything works out. Even when it doesn't look like it, he will make sure that it all works out.